Hello, beautiful Aquarius sun and 11th house sun. I'm an 11th house sun. We're going to talk about joy and happiness and how to find the keys to your life. Let's have a look. Well, I'm an 11th house sun and Libra. You may be an Aquarian sun or an 11th house sun as well, and welcome. Now let's have a look at what holds you back. Whoa, not much. Not much holds you back, and that's a story. That's a story because nothing really freaking matters to you in some way. And sometimes people come, sometimes people stay, and sometimes things work out, sometimes things don't fucking work out. Nobody really cares. Why? Because you're unconscious, you got your 10th house, you got the house of Capricorn, and you're unconscious. And that basically means that you're a person who's just freaking done the drama. They've done the drama, they've done the gossip, you know what people are about, you know how people get ugly, you know how people get sad, you know how people get pretentious, you know how people get happy, you know how people achieve and how people step over each other. You know what religious views have done to the world, you know what polarity has done to the world, you kind of freaking know, and you kind of like moving on from it. And every time you recognize it, you're like, huh, right, you're one of those. Or like, oh, right, you're one of those. That's fine. And that kind of doesn't get you down anymore, which is something that not many people can have. But here's the thing that gets you down though, Aquarius sun, 11th house sun. What gets you down is basically people not fucking wanting to learn from you. People not really learning from you, people not learning from yourself, people not learning from you. People not learning, and people don't learn anything at all from you because you've already done it. So basically you're like the teacher that comes into the class, and instead of holding the book and going, okay everybody, now let's go for chapter 1 together, you basically go, okay, well, 1 2 3 fucking do it, okay, I've done it, so you just gotta fucking repeat after me. And that is something that people don't find very pleasant sometimes, because they kind of feel like, whoa, hang on, you've done it, you've like awakened in some way, or you're doing this and this is easy for you, now I want to see how. And you like get really freaking bored, and you're like, you figure it out on your own, and you freaking bring me back the homework, and I want to see it, and I want to freaking be happy for you, okay? And that's something that doesn't at all work, because basically you don't have enough tolerance for anyone, and you don't have enough patience for humanity in general, until one day you feel like you could die. You feel like you could die and nothing really matters, and you go into the next life and you get a glimpse of a different reality, say from an ayahuasca ceremony, or you feel like you have like a near-death experience, which many of you probably have had at least once, as like this is a very interesting placing for me as well. I've had a near-death experience, and sometimes like what that brings to you is basically worthlessness. You think you're worthy? Do you think you've done it? Do you think you're up there? Well, you're freaking not. And look, your life is like a pea-sized freaking nothing. Fractal. It's like a tiny little fractal. You only just a little tiny fractal and everything. But yet again, you get it. Like, you get it. Okay, you get it. But it doesn't actually help anyone. It doesn't really fix anything. So what are you going to do about it? And that's what happens. Sometimes 11th house suns, Aquarian suns, like, whoa, what are you talking about? Well, we get enlightened. We get enlightened more than other people through freaking weird circumstances, which we kind of don't want to create though. Because Aquarian sun, 11th house sun likes poised things. And I want things poised, okay? I've done it. I figured it out. I know there's no hate in the world. I know that, like, you know, all cultures are the same. I know it. You guys can't freaking figure out shit. And I'm going to maybe judge you, maybe not judge you, maybe be sad for you, maybe not be sad, but I just want my own experience, and I want a safety net, because it's a fixed sign. Aquarians are fixed signs, and 11th house is a fixed house. So it's basically like wanting to preach something that you can't even explain tangibly, as Uranus permits you to only fix without speaking, because Uranus is a nonsensical energy which just fixes things without really understanding or revolving around facts. It's just like, you just done, you just do it, look, it's just simple, blah, and then you're done. And then at the same time, you kind of want the stability for you. So often Aquarian suns, you know, 11th house suns, they'll create for themselves some kind of a sisterhood, a brotherhood, where people get each other, where nothing really changes. Sometimes like a stale little apartment, or a house where they don't really move for a long time, and things stay the same because they almost feel like the change happens inside and it doesn't really matter. And then what? Well, their life is rather boring. Life becomes boring because people are freaking boring. 11th house sun, Aquarian sun, knows that everyone is freaking catalogued, okay? feelings are cataloged. Of course, I knew she'd say that. Oh, I knew she'd smile like that. Really, that's wonderful. I knew you'd shake hands just like that. I reach out my hand, you shake my hand. I fucking knew it. You know, you've got a weak handshake. I don't like that. You know, and then they can build a freaking judgment. Like, you know, Sagittarius won't do it because they don't bother. But say, like, sometimes they do because Scorpio is in their, you know, previous house. It's like they can just take a glance and they kind of already know. And it's not like even a judgment, but it is a judgment. But it's just like a genuine knowing. Like, oh, I freaking know who you are. Like, I'm connected to everybody with my pineal. I'm the center of the pineal system. Because 11th house, Aquarius, Uranus to a degree, like, rules the system. The, you know, the connection between all the different people, all the different folks. And then when everything becomes the same and you kind of like, okay, I know what to expect from a person who wears that kind of dress. Yeah, I just know what to expect from a person who looks at me that way. I know what to expect from a person who glances over there and over here. Yeah, I know why your eyes are doing this, and I know why you scratched your forehead and brushed your hair away. I freaking know. And then that makes you kind of feel like on top of things when you're not. And sometimes you can feel like you are, and you're like, okay, I can predict reality, and everything's simple, and everything's the way that it would probably be, la 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 la. Of course, that person expected that, and of course, that person was after my girlfriend, and that person was after my job, and of course, and didn't expect that. You eventually sort of get blinded by it, and this is why this house and this placement tends to generate people who have eyesight issues, and people that kind of like look weird, like say sometimes it's sort of like the eyes kind of do this, you know, like I do this a lot actually. It's kind of like zoning out, I'm connecting to my pineal gland, I don't even freaking need my eyes anymore, or like sort of like, oh yeah, you know, kind of like you know, the vision kind of goes sometimes, and sometimes this person, these people can become very stale in their eyesight because it's almost like they've seen it all before. They've seen it all forever, and they already know what you're going to say, and they already know how you're going to look at them, and they're already like, it's like they don't want to see anymore. It's like, I don't want to see you anymore because I know you're predictable. And then whereas the joy and happiness, it can feel like you're happy. You can feel like you're joyful, just fucking walking around, knowing everything is one being, you and me, I'm you. Nothing really changes, everybody's the same, everybody's connected, la-di-da-di-da-di-da, this is the point of life, it's just connection, and then what? Well, sometimes like joy and happiness, it's really not about joy and happiness for these people. Sometimes it's actually about the sadness, and it sounds really freaking weird. My mom is also like, she's quite interesting combination. She's 11th house sun and Cancer, my mom, you know, and it's really interesting because for these people sometimes sadness is a way out. Like say they'll freaking see a sad movie, and I have an ex who's an Aquarian, and you should just freaking be a fine person, but then cry during almost every movie just as an experience, because sometimes what is suffering, what is feeling, like wow, what is needing and longing for another human being, and sometimes those kind of feelings can be misconstrued as joy, or be feeling very good when they don't actually feel that good. And sometimes these people can even put themselves into situations like I am now, where they're sitting on their feet and their feet hurt for ages and they don't freaking realize it. It's like, wow, I was in pain for like freaking 10 minutes and I didn't see it. And why is that it happens? Well, because this sign and this house placement, they just want to know the other side of life. They want to know more, like what Pisces is about. And they prodded Pisces in the 12th house in a really weird way sometimes. You see, I got a lot of planets in my 12th house. So sometimes these people can prod at the 12th house as if it was like their last destination, when it's not. It's like they sometimes prodded the idea of suicide, or they prodded the idea of really bad news. You know, like that person really like freaking fell over and they got like eaten by a freaking shark in a swimming pool, you know, something like that, something crazy. And sometimes this nervous system of this person, Aquarian or 11th house sun, it can even find joy and welcoming disasters. Like, oh my god, imagine if like I was crossing the street and this guy just like grabbed me and pulled me into the alleyway, and they can really disconnect from themselves in those like ideas of joy out of things crumbling. And perhaps it's not that grim, perhaps it's just a breakup. Oh yeah, we went on holiday and we broke up, ha ha ha. Yeah, wow, never expected that. And there's like a really weird sufficiency that comes out of insufficiency of other people, especially if you're close knit with somebody. Sometimes This idea of somebody betraying you, or somebody leaving you for another person, or somebody disconnecting you from you completely and not ever talking to you again, can be a strangely liberating and almost like a smug feeling. Oh yeah, I spent all this money on this boy and then he just disappeared from my life and I never heard from him again. Ha 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 ha. And there's like a really interesting laughter that happens during that time, almost as if a liberation happens. And that can feel sometimes to some people as madness. And then to other people it can just feel as sane, like, oh, that person's positive, damn. But it's neither. It's neither. It's like knowing that you can laugh at the face of death, because 12th house is the face of death for an Aquarian. 12th house is where everything sleeps, everything is still, and nothing really matters. And sometimes Aquarian people, 11th house people, will find a strange joy in a dissatisfying situation where your life is falling apart, man. I don't think we'll ever be able to recover. You know, like say my mother, like she's in 11th house Cancer. She went and she got all of her top teeth removed, even though there were so many different ways around it, or perhaps they weren't, but she almost found an interesting glee in that energy of just like having the full top of her teeth removed, you know, as a procedure. And that gave me the shivers down my spine, you know. And as a 11th house sun, at the same time, I kind of laughed as well. Like, why would anyone do that? And there's like a really weird humor that comes with this energy, is like laughing at the dark, or laughing at the, you know, unrepairable. It's like, oh, lost both my legs. Jesus, I'm still here. You know, and it's a genuine laugh. But is it though? Because basically what Aquarian suns and 11th house suns miss is the idea that sometimes things don't need to be stolen or broken in order for them to be transmitted into something else. They just have to be placed beside them as an equal thing. Like sometimes with people, human beings, they can just go through these people and go, haha, I knew she'd do that, he'd do this, I'd lose this person, that person, I got no one in the end, haha, I don't care, I'm free, I'm awake. But then sometimes it's not really about that. Sometimes it's like about giving people the opportunity to sit beside them as equals. You know, seeing the idea of like an amputee, like just the same as them. It's not about glorification or laughter at that. It's not about the freedom that comes through loss. And sometimes there's systems in place for these people which enable them to lose little, because they don't have the fear that evolves in loss. Like they don't have a lot of things happen that is like really like loss related, unless they got like something in their chart. And until they can feel fear, I feel they feel invincible. But sometimes fear creeps up, and that can be hurtful and really wrong. But then behind the fear, like when they really feel deep fear, like, oh my gosh, my mom's in hospital, she might die, or like my boyfriend, I feel he's actually with someone else, I know he's with someone else, I can feel him. And that deep fear is what actually restructures you into nonsense. And the nonsense is actually what's needed from you. When you actually feel fear, and you actually feel true loss and true like susceptibility to complete vulnerability, that is when your world can change. And you're like, oh my gosh, I'm just a small freaking person, I'm so fucking sorry, I'm so sorry I never connected to anyone properly. And then you sort of become very mournful, like, and shameful about loss, and about how people connect and disconnect, and things become really overwhelming, and like things become really big and you become really small, and almost like mindless in the fear of loss. And through that experience, sometimes Aquarians can find deeper joy and connection to things. Sometimes it is about experiencing the extreme that you're actually afraid of, in order to become one with yourself and solidify yourself in your own pineal gland without having to look further than yourself and like losing your side because it's all blurred out, everything's a mirror of itself. And that sometimes creates situations where things do get lost. You know, people get lost and things get lost, and you know, but then again, an Aquarian or an 11th house person is usually quite well protected from extreme danger, and usually quite well looked after in terms of their separation from other people, like, because they initially understand that everything is one being and there is no drama needed. This person is sort of alleviated through this portal of reality in a lot of different ways. And those say, for example, they might lose something, but they've been prepared for it for a while. It's like they just know. They know that they're going to lose it, so the loss already occurred before. And it could be in dream time. They can have a really bad dream, a nightmare, like they're going to lose somebody, and then 2 days later they do, but they're already kind of been prepared for it. But when an Aquarian is looking outside of themselves at people and their worth in reality, their worth in society, what they're doing, what they're wearing, what they're thinking, what they're representing with their political views and their image and anything like that, gender, specifics, anything like that, they lose the point. But when they stop looking outside and start looking within, thinking what makes me tick and what makes me break, and then what makes me strong and what makes me feel and what makes me me, that's when life really looks after them and really starts to present to them situations and people that really uplift them instead of diminishing what they are. So you're an Aquarian sun. If you're an 11th house sun like me, it's not a good idea to keep on looking out of yourself. Look at that guy's t-shirt. Oh my God, that woman is like feeling sad, and that woman is not well, and this person is looking too tired to be doing their job. And, you know, that man is looking at me like I'm meat. You know, instead of looking at people and knowing their intentions, try to look inside and not be so blasé about the outer world. Because when you find the glory of being inside and you're like, whoa, I'm discovering new things about me every day, I'm totally not who I thought I was, I'm like freaking myself out, I'm shifting, I'm changing, to the point of tears where you're like, mommy, I don't know where I am, like I don't know how the hell I've come to be this thing. And it like overwhelms you, and you're like, I'm so lucky, like I could have easily like missed a boat, or I could have easily been in a car crash, and like just like feeling like God is looking after you, like nature is looking towards you, like people are actually nourishing and nurturing you because you're awake and you're here, and it's fantastic and well done. And when you feel like almost to tears touched by this reality as you're living it, that's when you cross over. And there's where this amazing joy comes, when you actually feel, and I've only had this a few times, maybe a few more than I admit, but there is like a joy that you are like unbelievably well. And it's like being on the other side of life. It's just being like on the other side of life. You don't need to tell anyone, you can't even really say it, you can't even think it. It's just like it's like you're a newborn baby every freaking day. And that happens very rarely to us Aquarians or 11th house suns, as you have to live or feel through a huge loss in order to be able to connect with that feeling of just like being touched, and to the point of tears where you can't believe you're even breathing. And it's just such a gift just to be freaking gentle with yourself, and just to be able to have a body and a house and just everything in the first place, just to be here. It's like so much wealth and so much admiration for everything that you do and then everything that you are, and it really has to be within and nowhere else. But yes, until you can close in on yourself as a purely sensory and purely like energetic experience, it's a very hard life to navigate sometimes, because things kind of slip out. Things slip up, things are a little bit crazy, and things are a little bit nurturing in a really weird way, and goofy, and when it should be sad and distraught, like things like a very strangely kind of put together otherwise. And that's to do with everything like in your life, even how you look and how you've been brought up. Things are kind of awkwardly placed and at weird angles, you know, and that is something that Aquarians will not understand until later in life. I feel that they've always been wondrous to other people, and they didn't need to wander around so much in order to find themselves. Anyway, thank you very much, Aquarian Sun, 11th house Sun, for listening, subscribing, liking, booking, contacting, looking at my artwork, looking at my singing, listening to me say things and sing out loud. And well, welcome to the new frontier, and thank you very much. Enjoy.